Heidi, do you want to explain a little bit about how you became a mindset specialist, author, speaker? Like, what was the starting point for you?
If I look back all the way back to when I was in high school, I have these memories of sitting around the quadrangle and, the grassed area of high school when I was like 15. And I think I was kind of like a coach then because I used to sit around with my friends and they'd be stressed out about the maths exam or meeting some boy for a date or whatever was going on. And I was like, you can actually change your mindset and you can visualize that it's going to go all okay. And I used to make them say affirmations back to me until I felt that they believed it. So I think
Wow.
I already had it in me from quite a young age. And I remember, yeah, around the same age, reading something about in excess. I don't know, I'm a lot older than you,
Yeah.
but in excess, I don't know, one of the band members wrote all his affirmations on the wall and said that they're going to be like one of the biggest rock bands.
Wow.
So I kind of was always interested in it. And then, later on in life, I trained first of all to become a remedial therapist and a yoga teacher. And it's just layered upon layered
Mm.
on from there. So life coach,
Hmm.
wellness expert, and just kept studying and studying. And then during the last round of lockdown, I did counseling and mental health. So I wanted to be so much more than a yoga teacher. I just wanted to give people the amazing experience of having all those balances in their life. So just what I'm passionate about, I just want to share with others.
Yeah, beautiful, amazing. I know you've got some great habits, happiness habits and hacks that you want to share with us today. What are happiness hacks? Because a lot of people believe happiness is a skill, right? It's a habit, it's a way of being, it's a feeling. Everyone's got their own interpretation of what happiness really is.
Mm.
But what is a happiness hack?
I think happiness is you can choose happiness at any stage in your day. And believe me, I know I've had days where I haven't want to get out of bed as well. And, not just days, weeks where it's sort of, things have gone wrong. In Christmas time this year, I broke my arm in Japan and I went through a real sort of low
Mm.
point for myself. But on average, most days you can choose how you want that day to be. You can choose how you want your day to start. And I actually wrote a book about this last year called the first 10 and the last 5. And this is talking about the minutes of your day and how you can set up in that first couple of minutes of every day how you want your day to be. So you can wake up and see that it's raining outside and you realize that you're going to be late for school or work, or you remembered something you forgot to do or something you're embarrassed about.
Mm.
And you tell yourself it's going to be a bad day. It's going to suck. I'm not feeling fit. I feel like I'm getting another cold. You can tell yourself that, or you can tell yourself, hey, it's raining. I'll probably miss the bus, but I can still have a good day. So what you think you become, obviously.
Yeah.
So by this is one thing I really try and practice myself in the first, 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, is I just sit and one, visualize my day, but also tell myself how my day is going to be.
Mm.
And I love to teach this to high school students as well, especially when they've got a lot of exams and obviously the last few years have been a little bit crazy. So, just all these unknowns. And, I could really, see them when they're doing that meditation that they're able to visualize how they want their day to be. So
Mm.
I think that's one of the biggest happiness hacks or habits is
Yeah.
choosing how you want your day to be. And you might have to keep checking in throughout the day, but
Mm.
you just sort of start that process first thing in the morning.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's definitely one of the first key habits that, I adapted to get out of a depression and then waking up unhappy every day. So
Mhm.
that's the thing, like those words that come out of your mouth, those thoughts that come into your head, like the first thing that I really truly do believe that the first hour of your day or even the first 10 minutes,
Mhm.
that first, as soon as you wake up, whatever you think, feel, you know, you see, like, you know, all the five senses will distinguish if you believe you're going to have a good day or not. And then
Totally.
it keeps, like, you know, going on like a chain reaction. And again, like a lot of the time we go, oh, today was a good day or today was a bad day. And we distinguish that it was good or bad. But one thing I found really helps me is going, you know what, today didn't feel like the best day in the world, but it was a day. You know, I'm alive today. It was still a day. And then finding the positives. And I love the idea that you know, teaching high school students to visualize their day. I tested this for quite a few years where I would lay in bed, I wouldn't get out of bed until I actually visualized every hour of my day and what that looked like. And those days that I didn't, definitely weren't as productive and as good as when I did visualize. So can we go back to like that 1 minute? I think there was like 1 minute where mindfulness method that you have to help us with that.
I call it one magical minute. So
one magical minute, cool.
Mindfulness always starts with one magical minute, because from years of teaching, you know, corporates and kids and parents and everything like that, if you say even sometimes just 30 minutes a day or even 10 minutes a day, people are like, oh my God, I got to fit that into my schedule. It seems like a chore. So I think we've got I believe it's 1,440 minutes in a day. Wow. So you just need one. Just start with one. And so I created, at the moment, I've got on my socials a video series where I give a whole bunch of different things that you can do in that 1 minute. So it might be just doing the stop method where you just stand, you know, you feel, you ground yourself. It could be doing the five senses, as you mentioned, noticing the five senses. Could be just doing some deep breathing. Counting backwards from 10 to 1 is roughly 1 minute. And when you do it, it feels like a lot longer. Could be things like box breathing or writing a worry list. So there's so many different things, and everybody can give themselves 1 minute a day. And, you know, then it might go to 2 minutes, then it might go to 10 minutes. Or one thing I was doing recently, especially after I broke my arm, is I was trying to set up as many amazing habits as I could once I got out of the funk, is that I was putting my alarm on every hour on my phone so that I would check in and going, oh, how are my thoughts? Yeah. Even just giving myself 5 breaths, you know, that's 3 seconds. And that just allows you to bring in the moment. And when you're in the present moment, obviously, that's when you are truly happy, because you're out of the past and out of the future.
Yeah, that's it. You can be content. I know a lot of people do that with gratitude. Like they'll set an alarm every like hour or the same time every day and just sit there with their eyes closed, or they'll look around and just practice gratitude.
Yes.
So yeah,
well, gratitude's a great thing to do at the end of the day, because as you were saying, you could get to the end of the day going, oh, things didn't go as well as I wanted to. But it's all about what maybe they didn't go as well. I don't know. Yesterday I was, you know, ended up having a little Barney with my son, and that didn't go so great. But it was more about how I learned from it and what I could have done better. And then you can visualize what you could do next time. So you're rewiring your brain on what you can do next time, and you're always doing that with that visualization.
That's it. And you're strengthening that part of the brain. This is even though I feel like this, like it's going to get better, and it becomes a habit, right? To continue to push forward and not always stay back. So that's a really great question that I get asked a lot is, you know, what happens if you feel stuck, right? You're in a negative mindset, you're controlled by your negative thoughts, or you just simply feel down, or you're having like a real rough week. How can we change our mindsets or our physiology to get out of that when we find it really hard to see the positives?
Well, I also think it's okay to have those days.
Totally.
And unless you really feel it, sometimes you can't just go, oh, I really am not in a good space. You can't sometimes just snap and go, okay, I'm going to be happy.
That's it.
It is good to feel it so that you can able to move on. But one thing I do teach is doing a worry list, and I teach this to little kids, but also to adults as well. And I use it for myself. So they say that putting pen to paper rather than, you know, typing or texting on your phone is, you know, it's way more from the heart. So giving yourself 5 minutes. You know, if say you get home from work and it's been a really bad day and you just need to vent and you don't have someone to vent to, it's like you're, you know, opening up your head and just getting everything out of your head, because otherwise you're just going to keep repeating those thoughts over and over. And what do they say? 70 to the 80,000 thoughts in a 24-hour day. Most of them are on repeat and most of them are negative. And if you don't get them out of your head in a way, that's what you're going to do. Think about again tomorrow, and then again the next day, and then again the next day. So if you're able to, you know, release them out, I get little kids to write them down and then scrunch that piece of paper and throw it away. And, you know, you can visualize doing that. You don't actually have to do that, but just writing things down, what you don't like is, or what's going wrong or what you're worried about, is a great way to do it. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, totally.
And then obviously it's like you're emptying that out and then you replace it with the positive, even if you're not believing it. You know, you might be, I don't know, my son he's offered a rugby camp today, a 3-day rugby camp, and he was laying there last night. He just kept asking questions. So how many sessions is this going to be? You know, and ask about, what are we going to eat? You know, who's going to be there?
Yeah.
And I said, are you worrying about this? He goes, yeah. I said, well, let's get it all out that you can actually go to sleep. And then we did a meditation.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
But otherwise you're going to wake up at 2 a.m. going, hang on, I still don't know how many sessions there are tomorrow. And you're going to start worrying about it. So I think just as much as you can, get it out of your head. And it's like putting it on pause or a reset. And then you can fill it up with how you want to be and what you want to do.
That's it. And I think we realize we do have a choice to change our perspective and perception on things. And I call it a brain dump. You know, I get my clients to do it before they go to bed, get out of subconscious mind, and they're guaranteed to have a heap, you know, better sleep. Like every time they don't do it, they're like, Holly, yep, I didn't sleep as good. So it's all, you know, they wake up still stressed about exactly the same thing. So it's funny how the unconscious mind works.
Yes.
So a big conversation that's come up recently is teenage girls and how hard it is to be a teenage girl this day and age in high school.
Yes.
And like you know, being a teenager is always hard, like to be able to even understand your emotions and control them, or, you know, just understand who you are as a person, hormones, everything. But recently, over the last 2 weeks, I've just had so many people contact me saying, you know, their teenage daughter's struggling, they, you know, friendship groups, mental health. It's absolutely huge, and it's getting worse, which is really sad with social media. So with those, I guess, talking to the parents, how do parents deal with this when they've got a daughter or even a son who's struggling with mental health? And then the teenage perspective, what's like a thing they can start doing to kind of get out of that emotional wreck that they may feel like they're in?
Well, I'm a big believer of not having too much social media. I know it's easier said than done, but I do find I've got a daughter who's 16, nearly 17, and my son's just turned 13. But I do see just from other parents that kids are on apps younger and younger and younger. And maybe I was a super strict parent, but I didn't allow a lot of the apps to her. She was like 14 or 15. So I was probably the uncool mum. But I do feel you know, they're really kids, or, you know, teenagers are not understanding the reality of that everyone is showing their perfect self. And that behind the doors, there's a lot different going on. And it's really hard to understand if you're only seeing the rosy picture of really what 10% of your life is.
Wow.
So a lot of the time, not the damage, you know, like it's already started, the apps are on and it's hard to take them off. So there's sort of building up their own self-worth and their self-belief. And for me, it's for my daughter, she really struggled with some exam time and how to cope when it was, you know, mass exam and the assessments, and, you know, it's overwhelming, especially when you're quite new. And so we just once again did some things that she could do in under 1 minute, and she could do also without anyone knowing. So a mass test, and she could do this box breathing, or she could just do some visualizations before it was actually going to happen. I think friendship groups is a whole nother story. Friendship groups is, it is, once again, just knowing that it is a bit of a ride, and telling them that a lot of times, I mean, I'm still going through different realms of friendship groups. It's just something that is part of life, but it's knowing how to be a good friend yourself. You're going to attract the better friends. It's like anything, what you put out, you're going to get back. So I run some workshops where I do girl power. So it's mums and daughters can come along, and we talk a lot about how to be a kind friend, and especially when you're starting a high school or something new, complimenting others on things that aren't about their appearance, just that I love it that you looked out for me, or you're a really kind friend, and knowing that, and allowing them to know how it feels to give those compliments and also to receive them. So
that's amazing.
I don't think teach our children how important it is to give compliments and to be kind, and that in a way is being grateful as well. So if we're teaching our children how to be more kind, they're going to find the right friendship groups. Might take a little bit of a swim through it, but they'll eventually.
Well, that's it. And as we're always evolving as humans, and which means sometimes our values, we do have values that we've grown up with, and they may change over a period of time. But I still believe we have those concrete values. We just didn't understand what they are, and then you start attracting those people. So I love that. And I love to talk more about this emotional toolbox that you've designed or created. What's the first tool we can put in this box?
Well, I don't know if there's the first tool. I kind of think of it as like you're carrying a backpack, and you're putting in anything that can help you deal with life situations. So that's why I love to teach lots of little tools, lots of things that you can do in that minute. So it might be, I don't know, for example, my daughter, when she had those maths exams, we did box breathing. I'm sure some of your listeners would know about box breathing, but if they don't, it's something that obviously yogis do, but Navy SEALs do it, and lots of other people do it. And it's used in super stressful situations, and even just 4 rounds of this type of breathing can and has been proven to lower the nervous system and allow you to feel more calm, not just in your physical, but in your mind as well. So it's just counting to 4 as you breathe in, holding for 4, releasing for 4, and holding for 4. So that's something you can put in the toolbox. But I don't just teach one type of breathing. I teach lots of different types of breathing, because it's like anything. You could sometimes it takes you like 10 different sports to get one that aligns with you, So I like to teach people lots of different meditations. There's so many different types, because same thing, people might like, I don't know, visualization. People might like breath counting. People might like chanting, whatever they like. But someone's got to go to one. So it's like trying different types of cuisines or food or anything. So teaching kids and also adults lots of different methods, they're going to put it in their own unique backpack or their own unique toolbox, and they're going to carry it around with them. So they know, for example, when they go to bed at night and they can't sleep, their go-to might be, like you said, writing it down. Their go-to might be listening to a guided meditation, or their go-to might be counting backwards from 50 to 1. So they've got this big array, and they know the ones that work for them, and that's in their toolbox or their backpack. And
that's it. Yeah, you do have to find what works for you, hey?
Yeah, so I like to, in any workshop, give a lot of different choices so that hopefully one resonates with each person, and they'll carry that around with them. I remember I run yoga retreats, been doing it for about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. And a lady, she never does yoga except on my retreats. And she comes along for a year. But she mentioned, she goes, I still do the thing that you taught me like 8 years ago.
Wow.
And it's something that's, 5 minutes. And, so I do know that different things resonate with different people, but they work as well.
Yeah.
So, it's just having access
Yeah.
and trying them out. And it's like anything, people have aha moments going, oh my God, that was amazing,
Yeah, totally.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's as the more people learn about this, the more they want to learn and the more they're able to build up their own.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's exactly right. And it's about testing and finding what works for you because, I was on a personal development journey for so long, like many years. And then I realized like you do what works. You don't have to keep forcing something upon your routine that doesn't align with your values or what you enjoy doing. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to be the miracle morning routine kind of 5 a.m. person.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not a morning person, you really don't like the mornings, you don't like exercising in the morning, then why would you force yourself to do that?
Yeah, totally.
Work with your values, work with what is in alignment with what you want.
Mm.
But I love hearing manifesting stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you're an advocate of it. So what's been one of the biggest things you've manifested in your life? And maybe it's been a career or personal. And what do you think the step-by-step process was for you to manifest that?
Oh, I know I've manifested a lot of things in my life. So for me, I think the big aha moment on manifesting, and I'm sure you know this as well, is knowing that you have to feel it, not just visualize it or say it. You can do that till the cows come home. But if you don't actually feel the feelings of you as your future person, it's not going to manifest, you know what I mean? So I know I always, when I was younger, I always knew from a really young age I was going to go and live overseas and go traveling.
Yeah, cool.
And I think I did my first plane flight at 5 for myself. So I was, always, I just knew it in my bones that was going to happen. And I don't know, I didn't know how I was going to get the money or what it was going to do, but, where I was going to go, but I just knew that it would all work out. So it was, I suppose, something that just naturally involved that I could see myself, I don't know, on the ski slopes in Canada, and I could see myself having fun, and I knew it would all work out. So it's visualizing, it's telling yourself, but it's also that belief, that undying belief that it'll happen and it's meant to be happen. So if you're visualizing or you're trying to manifest something that's not, as you said, with your true core values, it's not going to happen because you're not going to truly believe that it's meant to do it. So it's like in excess, they obviously really believe they were going to be one of the number one bands in the world. But if I say to myself, oh, I'm going to believe I'm going to be an astronaut, it's not really true to what I am. So
that's it.
It's not going to really happen, So you've got to find out what's true to you and do the process, along the lines. You can do vision boards or whatever. But if you've got on your vision board driving a Porsche, but you'd rather be in a combi van, it's not going to happen.
No, that's it. It's so going to be in alignment. And I find when it's not in alignment, then we start being too focused and attached to the outcome. And then we get frustrated that nothing's happening. And then we have a control issue.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Enjoy. Yeah. What did I read the other day? That you want it, but you don't need it.
Yes.
Want it, but you're happy with your life as it is now. You don't really need it, but it would be amazing if it did happen. So it's like anything. You have to enjoy the journey to get there. So, and that's about being grateful. If you're going to get more when you're grateful. But, when I was a little kid, I wanted to go traveling. Yes, I knew that was going to happen one day. I was going to manifest it, but that didn't make me miserable on the lead up to it. I was still happy as I was, and I was still enjoying life as it was, And I have my own aspirations now, and I know it's going to happen, but it doesn't make today not worth being happy about or not worth living. I'm just enjoying the process as it goes through.
Yeah, and that's it. And you've got to train yourself to remind yourself to enjoy the process. Like, because especially if you're a high performer and you're constantly like, go, 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 and you're always seeking, the outcome, and I'm doing this because of this. And then, but the biggest thing I've learned when manifesting is that it's not always going to be butterflies and rainbows. It's the universe is going to pull you and push things away from you in alignment to what that vision is that you've been called to do. That's what I truly believe. And it was just the other day, like I was a few months ago, and I was just having like an emotionally rough day, and I haven't had one of them in a little while. So I allowed myself to feel and understand, okay, why do I feel like this? It's because there's so much change in my life happening all at once. I thought, why is this happening to me, right? The quote like, it's happening for me, not to me, right?
Yes.
And that's a perfect example. And I looked back at like, my vision statement that I wrote down like 3-5 years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything that has happened is happening because it's getting closer and closer and closer to that statement that I had no clue how I was actually going to get there, which was crazy. Yeah. And that was after I read the book Think and Grow Rich like a few years ago. I wrote my statement, put it up on my wall, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. I just knew what I wanted, if that makes sense. And I knew what my purpose was. And that was a really eye-opening moment for me. But
there's a good book called The Gap and the Gain. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I haven't read it though.
I've got it. I think it's by my bed, but it's about the focus on there's so many people focused, for example, they might are trying to get to, I don't know, so I'm just putting a figure out, $100,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
And they get to $90,000 a year, and they're so caught up in that $10,000 that they didn't get to, but they don't look back and appreciate that big gain that they've already had. They're always thinking about the gap, and then you'll get to that, and then you'll try and make another one. So
that's it.
It's like anything, it's if somebody's trying to lose 10 kilos, but they lose 8.
Yeah.
Why worry about that 2 kilos? Yes, it's nice to have goals, but if you're always focused on what's missing, you won't see what you already have and how far you've already come as well. Because, sometimes unless I like to get people to do instead of a bucket list, a reverse bucket list, of what they've already done.
I love that. That's such a great tool.
So
that's good. And
good for gratitude as well.
Yeah. 100%. I'm going to do that actually. Yeah. I love that. And it's, how Tony Robbins says, like, 2 millimeters away from succeeding. It's literally that. And then when we don't reach our own expectations, that's when we become unhappy, right? And we forget about all the gratitude and how far we've come. And it's really interesting as well, seeing that, like, people are like, oh, I want to make 100K or I want to make $1 million this year, or once I get to this place or this location or buy this house, I will be happy. But it's still like, I think the biggest reminder you can give yourself is still a limit that you've set for yourself. You said, once I get here. But what if you get here and you don't limit yourself and that you say you're happy here? Because you're most probably not going to be any happier when you get to here. And
that's why a lot of very successful and rich people are not happy.
Well, that's it. And I was reading something the other day, and how the most wealthy people are those who live the most simple, downplayed lives. They don't drive fancy cars. They live in normal houses. Like, that's because they're true to themselves and they've made money doing what they love to do, not to make them, fulfill their needs in materialistic things, which I thought that was really cool. So what's one of the hardest things you've ever gone through, and how did you overcome that?
One of the most recent ones was breaking my arm. I found that quite challenging, and that was
snowboarding or something.
Snowboarding, and I've snowboarded for 29 years. So
wow.
But I was just having a run by myself after looking after my kids on the greens. And anyway, so it was day 3 of a 3-week holiday. And it was amazing snow. And but for me, it was more the fact that I felt like I ruined my kids' holiday at the beginning because it was Christmas Eve and we had to fly back, for surgery. But on top of that, I am quite a giver, and I am quite independent in my, and not being able to drive and not being able to do everything that I normally do is, and obviously an arm is not that a big deal, you know, it's not like I've lost my legs or, you know, had a really serious incident. But I do find it quite eye-opening on having just to rely on others and be vulnerable, I suppose. And yeah, I don't know. I find that quite very challenging. And you know, I obviously I do a lot of mindset, but I also do a lot of yoga and still teach that as well, as part of my job. And not being able to do anything physical for about 2 or 3 months, I found challenging as well, because I'm usually always outside.
Well, that's it. It's when we feel like something's ripped away from us that we're so like, we feel so in control, and all of a sudden we're not.
But it was a good life lesson. I think, COVID, I kind of had that with all the lockdowns, and it was, you know, I did enjoy slowing down, but I usually like to keep very busy. So it was like the universe was like, hang on, you didn't really listen last time. We're going to force you to listen.
It's interesting.
And yes, now I see it as a blessing, because it did allow me to completely reassess my life, and I had time to look at the 12 parts of my life and do a vision on every single part, and really delve deep in how I wanted to set up change my business. So it did give me time to do that. And also be there for my son when he started high school, which I probably wouldn't have had the time to do. So
how good's that?
It is a blessing, and I really appreciate of it now, but at the time it was
100%. I love that you've looked back on the gratitude side of it. And if someone was in this situation, I felt very similar to you, like quite a few months ago actually, and you're just like, oh, you feel so helpless sometimes when you feel so in control for such a long period of time. And you're like, wow, now I actually have all the time to do all these things that maybe I'm really supposed to be called to do at this time. But what are those 12 areas of your life that we can set a vision for? I'm interested to know.
I don't know if I can do them off the top of my head. I've got them actually written down, all printed on my.
That's all right. Well, give us your like top favorite.
So one is one's health. So like physical health. If you have kids, one is parenting, one is your romantic relationships, one is your friends' relationships, one is your thinking of your core values, one is your financial, one is your emotional, like how you want your sort of like 5 main emotions, how you want to be most days, your core desired emotions. One is like fun, like travel and hobbies. And then also one is also where you want to take your vision as well. So that's it. And I've missed probably
the spiritual one.
Yeah, spiritual was there. I'll send it to you later if you want.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's just the wheel, isn't it? It's just the wheel of
it's the wheel but bigger.
I love that, because all the time we just go, all right, we want this, we want that, and we kind of have an idea of what we want. But when we break it down into those 12 areas, it just helps us really ground ourselves and be centered into what we actually do want and what's going to make us happy.
And asking the same questions on each one. So
I like that.
You know, what is most important in this area? What do I already have, and what's lacking? And how you're starting thinking about what are the steps to get there. So yes, you are setting goals, but it's also not just making it goal orientated, you know.
I really like that. Asking yourself why questions is so crucial. What's a quote, saying, or verse that you currently live by?
So I don't know if I'm going to get it word for word, but one I really love, and I try and say it to myself every single day. I love listening to Wayne Dwyer, and I've got loads of his books, but I read something, or I heard something from him a couple months ago, and he had on his bathroom mirror for many, many years the words "no one," but I also add "no situation." So no one is going to ruin my day. And starting every day with that in your head. So
Yeah.
I say no one or nothing is going to ruin my day.
Oh, I like that.
And it's actually really, really helped. And I really love it because I don't know, something happened yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know, I manage a hockey team for my daughter, but there was somebody was, having a little
Yeah.
thing. And I was like, okay, yeah, I could get emotionally caught up in this, but really it is just the small stuff, and like 5 years later, I'm not going to be worried about this,
Oh, yeah.
So, and you can apply it to everything. Do you know what I mean? If you're driving to work and there's a rude driver or there's, something happens and they, or there's a traffic jam, that could ruin someone's day. Or you
Yeah.
could just go, there's nothing I can really do about it. So
Yep. Let it
let's move
go.
on.
Not in
And
control.
yeah, and I don't know, somebody, I don't know, didn't book in an event with me. That's okay. That wasn't meant to be. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not going to let it ruin my day. Or
Yeah.
having a fight with somebody.
Yeah, I really love the saying, like, this is something I've lived by since I was 12 because I really struggled to deal with my emotions. It's don't let your emotions overpower your intelligence. And like it just reminds me, like, no one's gonna ruin my day today
Yeah, yeah.
because I am in control of how I act, react, of what I say and how I
Exactly.
approach this situation. So I love that. It's really great.
Mm.
And what would you say to someone who feels like giving up right now? If it's giving up in life, relationships, business?
Well, depending on what level they're at, they may need to see somebody. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
totally seek out help, even though it may be the last thing you want to do, because often speaking to somebody can actually change your life. Do you know what I mean? And can give you
100%.
the guidance that you need. So even though I do say what I say, if you need to see someone professional, obviously see somebody. And but also I suppose giving up, there's always going to be cloudy days and there's always going to be sunny days, and you've just got to often ride it out, and you've got to remember that it's like everything
Yeah.
it swings and roundabouts. Especially those people on social media and those people having those awesome lives on boats and
Yeah.
cruise the Caribbean, they're not doing that every day, and they might
No.
not be happy. They might have this blasted smile on their face, but everyone has bad days, and yeah, I think it makes the good days even better. So
Yeah. Just reminding you, like finding the gratitude in those days. I think we've discussed a lot about that today. So
yeah,
whoever's listening to this conversation, then make sure you take that on board. There's always write your backwards bucket list. See, look, I love that. And see how far you really have come, right? Rather than
well,
always focusing on the future.
practicing gratitude has been proven that you can't. It's impossible to be angry or negative if you're being grateful. So if you
Wow.
really want to switch it up in a quick way, think about some things that you're grateful for. And people are, I'm not grateful for anything. You are. You're grateful that you can see. You're grateful that you can
Yeah.
tap and there's water there. There's grateful
Yeah.
that you can breathe, that you're
Oh,
alive.
yeah.
So there's always something that you can be grateful for. And once you think of one thing, you can usually think of a couple of things. And when you are being grateful, you try and be as specific as you can. So rather, I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for my dog because they always cuddle me when I watch TV and they're always happy to see me. And I love hanging out and throwing the ball to them, like to try and get, and notice how it feels. So if you've got those true feelings of gratitude, you can't be angry or you can't be grumpy,
Yeah.
be sad at the same time. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Which, and I think the Buddha states that when he's like, I can't remember what quote it was, but I know he talks about that quite a bit. these practices. I've got like one last question for you,
Sure.
and it's for the parents out there. Well, I have a lot of parents and young parents listening
Nice.
to this. So how do we empower our children to dream big?
Well, one, believe in them, and two, I think just, give them their self-belief and self-worth. So if they want, listen to them and encourage them. And I think allowing them to believe that they can do it as well. So my son, he wanted to join a rep rugby team a number of years ago, and he went to the first training, and it was super hard. I joined in for that one, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to do it. You know, there's no way, it's too hard. I'm not good enough. And I said, well, do you want it? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, you need to believe it. And so we, visualized him in the jersey of the game, and visualized, and he say, I am a blah 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 player.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in the team. I am strong enough. I am a good player. I'm a fit.
Yeah.
And so we just kept doing that. So he allowed himself to believe that it was possible, and he allowed himself to believe in himself and his worth. And and then that created the actions of doing the training.
I love that.
And doing everything else.
Yeah.
And we can learn. We are the best examples for our kids. So if we say, believe in yourself, you can do this, but we are sitting around not trying new things ourselves, or not learning from our own mistakes.
Yeah.
Our children are always watching. They're
they know.
So I try and challenge myself all the time and use that as an example for my kids. I'm 51, and I joined a soccer team for the first time. I'm not fit enough. Well, I am fit enough, but I'm getting there. But it's all about showing them that you can do things throughout your life, and give it a go, and just be the model. And it's the same thing if you want your kids to be mindful and you learn meditation. There's no point saying that, but if you're stressed out or you're on your phone while you're asking them to do it. So if you're the role model and you are doing it yourself.
Yeah. I really love that. And all stems back, right? Kids are always watching and they'll adapt exactly what their parents' belief systems are as well, which is crazy. But thank you so much for today's conversation. It's been actually so great.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. People are going to be able to just pull some really great tools and strategies, and just remind ourselves that, we are where we are for a reason, and to look back and think about how far we've come. I think that's been a really awesome takeaway. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or add?
No, but just, as I said, just start with one magical minute. And, if you want to create anything new in your life, it can all be done. It's just that first step, and that first step becomes another step. And,
that's it.
if you are going through a bad stage, remember the sun will shine. There'll be the rainbow coming in. Maybe next tomorrow, but maybe in a few weeks, maybe longer, but it will eventually come out. So,
I really love that.
Believe in yourself, and you'll get there.
That's it. And where can people find you?
So my website is Heidi Horne, HEIDIHORNE.co. And on there, I have a section for parents. So I've got my book there, and also an online course, which is all lots of animation videos, and pretty much bringing the book Mind Flip to life that I wrote. It's also got a section for teachers there. So if anyone wants resilience and wellbeing programs at their schools, I do run those, and also a section for corporates and speaking. So I do speaking about mindfulness and run corporate wellness programs. So
beautiful, amazing. You are a woman of all trades. You're in a soccer team and you coach a hockey team.
Only
You're
played
so
2
good.
games of the soccer, but anyway,
Good for you, though.
yeah.
Seriously, that's inspiring. It's inspiring. Well, thank you so much once again. We appreciate you and all you do, and I'm so looking forward to everyone to hear this conversation.
Great. Thanks for having me, Holly. It was lovely to see your smiling face and chat with you in person.
Thanks, Heidi.